Hi everybody, this is Paul from Kentucky Tacklebox. Welcome back to the channel. Today I just picked up a new lure that I'm going to mess around with a little bit this year, and it's called the Micro King Spinnerbait by Strike King. And these particular ones, I got two of them, one in white and one in the chartreuse. The package indicates that the bait is, let me zoom in here a little bit, is 1/16 of an ounce. So just to make sure that I understand what the weight is before I rig this up to use it this year, I pulled out my scale. So let me back up, zoom out here a little bit, and I'll power up my scale and I'll zero it out, and we'll weigh them. And I already got the package kind of open on this one, so we can just pull that out. But the reason I want to start using these this year is I've been doing some creek fishing lately, and I'm finding that some of the fish I've been catching are rock bass in various sizes, smaller and larger, and they've been pretty aggressive. And today I went out and caught some on a spinner bait and an inline spinner. So I thought, well, maybe if I downsize the spinner bait to something just a little bit smaller, and see if that can also allow me to maybe pick up some bluegill and sunfish too, and even some small creek bass. So I wanted to just kind of play around with it, have a little fun with the lure. But anyway, here's the scale. Let me zero it out. Okay. All right, so I'll throw one of these on. Now, according to the package, it's 1/16 of an ounce. And you can see here it's coming in at 0.19 ounces. So that's definitely not 1/16 of an ounce. I think what they're referring to on the package is just the weight of the jig head itself. So if I do a little quick math, 0.19 is about 3/16 of an ounce right now here. So that's good because the type of rod I'm going to be throwing these lures on is going to be like a 6'10" medium light rod with 6 pound test. And I want something that's not super light. It's going to make it hard to cast, but at the same token, I don't want anything so heavy that the shock load of throwing the lure is going to snap my line off. Because one thing I have noticed in the past with spinner baits is I've actually managed to, under a hard casting, snap off the lure at the end of the cast, where you wind up, you get a good launch of the lure, and the shock load on your fishing line at the end of the cast snaps the lure off. And I've had that happen actually with 8 pound tests. I haven't had it happen with heavier tests, but I've had it happen up to 8 pound, and I'm running 6 on these rods. So I don't really want to get into that type of situation. So, but anyway, this was 1.9. Let me just weigh the other one just to see if they're both coming in at the same. Uh, that was the weight. Here's a chartreuse one. Let's see here. And the scale here is also coming at 0.19. So, okay, they're both in at about 3/16 of an ounce. And what I'm going to do to them is I'm going to add a trailer. And I've been using these type of trailers that I've been picking up just at Bass Pro Shops. But you can use whatever trailer you like. In my case, I like these. They're like a Bobby Garland styled lure or soft plastic. And what I have is I have a couple different colors here. Probably for the green one here, or the chartreuse colored one, I'll probably add this one, which has got some white in it and a little bit of red flake. And then let me rig this up real quick here, and then we'll reweigh and see where it's coming in with that. Now the other thing too is about these lighter spinner baits. The hook size is definitely smaller than you would find on maybe like a 1/4 or a 3/8 ounce spinner bait. And I'll show you that for comparison because I have a couple laying on the counter here. So, all right. So we have that rigged up there with the trailer on it there. The other thing too I like to do is you can see it's kind of hard to see the trailer because the length of the spinnerbait skirt is kind of long. So what I may do is I may trim this skirt up just maybe about 1/4 of an inch just to show to let the little tail of the trailer kind of poke through a little bit better, give it a little clearer look. But anyway, let me go ahead and I'll power the scale back up, and then we'll re-zero it out. Okay, now if we lay this one on here, we know it came in at 0.019. So let's see where we're at with the trailer on it now. So looks like it's coming in at 0.21. Okay, so now we're a little heavier than 3/16 of an ounce, but not quite 1/4 of an ounce. So that's good. That extra mass should be fine for as far as casting. And I don't believe this lure is going to be heavy enough to cause me any line issues. One thing I have learned this year, casting spinner baits on like a medium light rod with lighter pound test, is that it's almost better to kind of lob cast it than try to power cast it. In other words, what I mean is just a smooth wind up on your rod and a smooth release. Don't try to really muscle it out there, and I think you find that you get better distance that way when you're running lighter gear. If you have a heavier rod with heavier pound test, then yeah, you can put your whole arm into it when you're casting and really get the distance that you want. But anyway, let me compare these real quick here. So you can see here that the hook size is about like so. If I lay it on top of a, let me do it like this, it'll make more sense this way. Okay, yeah, hook size, you can see there's quite a bit of difference in diameter of the hooks. We're talking probably about 2 or 3 sizes in hook diameter difference between the 1/16 and then like a quarter or 3/8 ounce spinnerbait. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to target fish with smaller mouths, such as the bluegills, the sunfish, the rock bass, you know, and some smaller creek bass that you may run across. So if you haven't played around with these micro spinner baits, you may want to pick a couple up like I'm doing and just have some fun with them. I can see probably 2 situations where I'm going to try to use these this year. The first one being in the creeks as I'm creek fishing. And the second one is the lake I fish has a lot of pretty good sized bluegill and sunfish along the shoreline. And when I'm out kayak fishing, I tend to catch a lot of them. Usually, surprisingly or not, they get pretty good sized out there. So I've caught a lot of pretty good sized bluegill and sunfish on a quarter ounce rooster tail, which a lot of people would think, wow, that's way too big. But that's what they're going after. So I think these lures would also work well for some of those larger panfish out at the lake too, just working your way along the shoreline. So, like I say, these are called the Micro King spinnerbait, and they're not the only company that makes them too. I think Booyah makes them, and there's a few other outfits that make them as well too. So if you think you'd like to give them a try, hey, it might be fun just to kind of mess around with them if you haven't used them before. So as always, thanks for watching the channel. Get outdoors when you can. It's a great place to be, and we'll see you next time. Bye.